Good morning. I'm Gary DeWaal, and this is Bridging the Week for September 25th to 29th, and today is October 2nd, 2017. Last week, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission brought and settled two enforcement actions for failure to supervise against two separate commodity pool operators. In one case, the CPO purportedly failed to monitor the fund's bank account, a failure that the Commission claimed allowed the fund's administrator to act on faked wire transfer instructions without catching them. In the second case, the CPO supposedly did not detect the alleged spoofing trading activity of one of its employees, even after being alerted to it following the detection of such activity by a non-U.S. exchange. Separately, the Securities and Exchange Commission filed a lawsuit against two companies and their owner for purportedly running a fraudulent initial coin offering that the SEC alleged involved no coin offering, let alone the issuance of coins backed by any of the publicized assets allegedly supporting the coins. Playoffs begin for Major League Baseball this week, so I can get ready to watch the game and root for the home team, the New York Yankees. Let's get started. The Commodity Futures Trading Commission brought and settled enforcement actions against two separate commodity pool operators for failure to supervise. In one action, the CFTC charged Tillage Commodities LLC, a CPO, with failure to supervise for its failure to monitor and detect unauthorized wire transfers processed by the administrator of a fund it operated, Tillage Commodities Fund, LP. In the second action, the CFTC alleged that Logista Advisors, another registered CPO and commodity trading advisor, failed to detect one of its employees' alleged spoofing-type trading of crude oil futures on a non-U.S. exchange, and then failed to provide to its future commission merchant and the non-U.S. exchange accurate explanations of the trading in response to the non-U.S. exchange's inquiry. To resolve these enforcement actions, Tillage agreed to pay a fine of $150,000 US, while Logista consented to remit a fine of $250,000 US. I have a deep discussion of these matters and the CFTC's expectations under the duty to supervise requirements in the article version of Bridging the Week. Check it out. The Securities and Exchange Commission filed an enforcement action against two companies and their sole owner, who also was the chief executive officer and president of both companies, for engaging in a fraudulent initial coin offering. The companies were Recoin Group Foundation LLC and DRC World Inc., known as Diamond Reserve Club, while the sole owner was Maxim Zaslavsky. According to the SEC, from July 2017 to the present, the defendants raised at least $300,000 US from quote-unquote hundreds of investors by soliciting persons through the internet and elsewhere to purchase digital tokens that would be purportedly backed either by real estate investments in the case of tokens issued by REcoin, or diamonds in the case of digital coins issued by Diamond Reserve. In fact, charged the SEC, investors received no digital tokens of any kind and assets backed no tokens. The SEC charged the defendants with engaging in fraud and selling securities that were required to be registered but were not registered or lawfully exempted from registration. Separately, the SEC announced last week the formation of a cyber unit and a retail strategy task force within its division of enforcement. The cyber unit will concentrate on potential cyber-related misconduct, including hacking to obtain non-public information and market manipulation efforts through the spread of false information using electronic and social media, as well as violations of law involving ICOs and distributed ledger technology. The Retail Strategy Task Force will aim specifically at potential misconduct impacting retail clients. James McDonald, the recently appointed new Director of Enforcement for the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, said in a speech last week that potential wrongdoers who voluntarily self-report their violations, fully cooperate in any subsequent CFTC investigation, and fix the cause of their wrongdoing to prevent a reoccurrence will receive substantial benefits in the form of significantly lesser sanctions in any enforcement proceeding and, quote, in truly extraordinary circumstances, end of quote, no prosecution at all. Mr. McDonald presented his views at a New York University program on corporate compliance and enforcement. According to Mr. McDonald, for a company to be credited for the voluntary self-reporting wrongdoing, the disclosure must be, quote, truly voluntary before an imminent threat of disclosure or of a government investigation, end of quote. He also said that the reporting must occur promptly after discovery and offer up, quote, all relevant facts known to the company at the time, end of quote. Additionally, full cooperation, said Mr. McDonald, must involve ongoing revelation of facts as a company discovers them, including facts related to particular persons. Mr. McDonald warned against revealing facts as part of a quote-unquote general narrative. Particular facts, he cautioned, quote, should be attributed to particular people, end of quote. Finally, the company must, quote, timely and appropriately, end of quote, remediate the conditions that led to the misconduct, quote, to ensure that misconduct doesn't happen again, end of quote. Mr. McDonald indicated that one of the goals of encouraging self-reporting and cooperation is to further the division's commitment to aggressive prosecution. What are the implications of this new policy for the little guy and not a big company? And what are some of the considerations for self-reporting? I have an analysis of this on the article version of Bridging the Week on the website. Check it out. And finally, 2 respondents agreed to settle charges brought by the Chicago Board of Trade related to alleged disruptive trading practices. In one case, Andrew Anaszewicz, a member, agreed to pay a fine of $50,000, disgorge profits of almost $5,300, and serve a 4-week all CME Group Exchanges trading suspension for purportedly engaging in spoofing-type conduct on multiple dates from September 2015 through April 2016. According to the CBOT, during the relevant time, Mr. Anaszewicz would later offer orders on one side of one or more various Treasury futures markets, quote, without the intent to trade, end of quote, and subsequently place a smaller order on the same side of the same market or a correlated market. As soon as a small order traded, Mr. Anaszewicz canceled the larger orders, charged CBOT. In the other action, Vinko Sajin, a non-member, was charged by the CBOT with entering multiple user-defined spreads in covered soybean options on 2 dates in October 2015 to avoid futures contract allocations that ordinarily associated with the options. This allocation, said CBOT, was favorable to Mr. Sajin. CBOT charged this behavior was intended to deceive or unfairly disadvantage other market participants, contrary to CBOT rules. To resolve this matter, Mr. Sajin agreed to pay a fine of $5,000 and serve a 30 business day all CME Group Exchanges trading prohibition. Well, that's it for this week's edition of Bridging the Week. As always, there's more information in each article and more articles on the article version of Bridging the Week on the website. Check it out. I'm Gary DeWaal. Have a great week. Let's go Yankees. And until the next edition of Bridging the Week, ciao.